Our first review of the day is going to be for the film The Creator. The Creator is a film directed by Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards, people know him. Speaking of Star Wars, he did Rogue One. That was like a Star Wars film, which I have grown to like more and more times I've seen it. At first, I was kind of mad on it, but more times I've watched it, I've kind of warmed up to the film a little bit more. So in The Creator, it's a original, IP sci-fi film, which is kind of rare these days that you see. And it's detailing artificial intelligence as the main villain here. Kind of following that trend, what we see a lot today. It's like we just entrusted our whole lives to AI, to robots, and what does usually happen in sci-fi stories when humans do that? They fuck shit up. They just say like, let's just blow shit up. And it basically causes a huge kind of apocalyptic type scenario there and a big civil war between AI and between humans. And then you're following a character here, played by John David Washington, whose name is Joshua, which I loved very much. He just like me for real. And he's a soldier here who gets tasked with the mission of finding this big weapon that apparently AI is going to use against humans, and it's up to him to kind of help stop that. So this film, I will start by saying, looks gorgeous looking movie. Really good visuals, really good effects, and this was done on a production of budget of $80 million. When you look at the movie, it's like, wow, that's it, just $80 million. Because if Disney had done this would have been like 400 million probably. You know what I mean? They would have probably done a lot of their stuff. It's like all this money, but it's kind of very impressive that you have a lot of these effects that are just for CGI. With these robots in here, with these different mixture of robots and humans, because you see in the movie that the robots kind of evolved over time, where you have just like the straight looking robots there. Then there's the robots with like the human face on it, which all look really good. I don't think there's any moment where the CGI looks bad or looks wonky or anything like that. It's like, wow. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, this is the exact opposite of what people saw in The Flash, which was $200 million. And you had that really creepy, weird, dead-eyed shit that happened at the end of it. This is very impressive. John David Washington here. I know some people are kind of, mixed on him right now as an actor. I know some people really love him. Some people don't. Can he be a leading man? Some people think he's a little, kind of maybe stiff, a little boring. I thought he was solid in this. I think the biggest thing about this movie that is dragging it down is that it's very, I think, generic in the sense of a lot of things that kind of go on in the story, in the characterization of a lot of people. But I'll go around, get you guys' opinion. Ayers, what did you think about The Creator?
I was just kind of on it overall. Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff to admire about it. Like, for one thing, this is a movie that people need to see, I think, despite its quality, and Hollywood needs to pay attention to, because, like, the best thing it has going for it are the visuals and the camera work and what it's able to do with the effects and make this whole world that they've created look and feel so tactile and real and lived in for such a small budget. Like, we're living in a time where we're getting swamped with so many of these huge 200 to 300 million blockbusters, and so many of them are just looking like such fucking shit. Like, if I have to sit through another goddamn movie with effects on the level of anything in The Flash, you name it, the babies or whatever, or fucking MODOK in Quantumania, like, if I have to see that kind of shit again, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Like, I'm so sick of that shit. But this actually, like, you can tell that this movie has a very clear idea of its world and what it wants to do and how it wants to use its visuals. And it's one of the few, blockbusters of this year that uses CGI in an intelligent way that actually, like, makes sense for the story it's trying to tell. And I also think that the action scenes are really well choreographed. They're really well filmed. They're exciting to watch. They're really well done. And some of the performances, I think, are really solid. On the downside, you're right. This is a very cliche, generic story. It's a derivative of Avatar, which is already derivative of so many other sci-fi and historical movies, you name it. John David Washington. I won't go so far as to call him a bad actor, because I've seen him in stuff, even stuff I don't like, where I think he's been fine. Like, I hated Malcolm and Marie, but I thought he was really good in that. Amsterdam, that movie sucks ass, but he was like one of the few actors in that movie I liked. And Tenet, I thought he worked well, but in this, it's like I won't go as far as to call him a bad actor, but I don't think he has a lot of range. Like he kind of has like one default mode that he falls back on a lot, and that's basically like deer in headlights. Like he always just looks bewildered at everything throughout the entire movie, and that can work for something like Tenet, where he's getting introduced to this like secret agency and this weird, crazy sci-fi backwards concept that he has to like adjust to and learn about. And it works in something like that, but something like this, where he's supposed to be like more of like the cold-hearted, sort of detached, mercenary killer or whatever, who is like forced to go on this journey to get rid of this thing. It's like that's where it kind of doesn't work. There's some spots where he kind of like manages to like get past that and make it work, but other times where it's like, yeah, I don't feel like you're quite nailing this. And Allison Janney as the villain, who's basically like the Stephen Lang character from Avatar. Like at first it seems like she's going to have a little more dimension to her, but then as the movie goes on, she just kind of devolves more and more into that kind of cartoonish, ooh, rah, kill them all military leader. And she just feels kind of miscast. Like this feels like a role that would have been more fitting for somebody like, I don't know, like a Michelle Rodriguez or somebody like that, somebody who is more credible, I think, as like an uber tough like military person. But Allison Janney, I always just associate her with characters like the bitchy mom from I, Tonya, like that kind of stuff. So watching her in this, it's like, there's kind of a disconnect. It's not really working. But I did like Ken Watanabe, who's like one of the androids, who's kind of like friends with John David Washington. Like he's always good, and he's good here. And Gemma Chan, who plays his wife, not in the movie a whole lot, but the little bit she is there, she brings a warmth to those scenes that they kind of need in order to work at all. And also the kid is really good. But yeah, this is just one of those movies where it's derivative, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's plenty of movies that have been derivative of other things that have still worked. This is one where it's just like, yeah, you're doing all the same shit that other stuff have done, but you're not doing it as well. And there were a lot of times where I felt the movie just kind of dragging, especially towards the end. Like that whole, like it feels like a 4-act movie, because there's that whole thing you see in the trailer with like ships coming into these mountains that look like they're in the Himalayas, and a big battle's like about to break out. I thought that was the climax when I was watching the movie. It's like, all right, we're about to wrap it up. But then no, it keeps going after that. I was like, all right, can we just kind of wrap this up and get like sort of just get it over with? But yeah, it's not something that I would call it a bad movie, and I'd even go as far as to say it's a really important movie that I'm hoping to God that, despite I don't think it's doing that well at the box office, it's a movie that Hollywood needs to learn from to get out of this shithole that they found themselves in, for a multitude of reasons.
Okay. Chris, Black Stubs.
Yeah, I think I'm piggybacking off of Chris. It's a unoriginal film. It's not based on a book. It doesn't stem from a pre-existing franchise or any known IP. This came from Gareth Edwards, and the movie starts with More Human Than Human, which is from Blade Runner. The whole, oh, it's okay, they don't feel anything, they're not real. That's how they talk about replicants in Blade Runner. Some of the vehicles were the same design as the cop cars in Blade Runner. When we're on New Asia, those ships, they resemble, if I'm wrong, Y-wings from Star Wars. Like the visuals were like Nick said in his review, the inspirations were on Gareth Edwards' sleeve. Like he wasn't subtle with what was inspiring this story. I think on a technical level, it's one of the best made films of the year. There are superhero movies, like we said, with bigger budgets. Indiana Jones had a ridiculous budget, and when it came down to de-aging Harrison, they kept old man Harrison's voice. So it was 35-year-old Indy speaking with 80-year-old Harrison's voice. Like those kind of things weren't happening in The Creator. They utilized the money well. Cinematography by Greg Fraser is stunning. From whether if it's Godzilla from 2014 or Rogue One, Gareth Edwards is really good at showing how big something is on screen, and he's really great at perspective, and that really, you know, lends itself to the cinematic experience. Like, there were moments in this film I was blown away by what I was seeing, but it is very familiar to other sci-fi films that have come before it. And I'm a big Blade Runner fan, and you can borrow and have inspirations, but there were some things that were just kind of blatant, especially the beginning when they're explaining, we had peace, and then the AI attacked, and then it's revealed they didn't really attack. The missile was a mistake, you know, by the humans. And in the future, just like in 2049, we have a big old wall blocking off humans' mistake and what's left of humanity because of the country's failure to provide proper infrastructure for their societies. So, you know, rather than have safeguards for this kind of disasters, let's just patch it up with a giant wall, a huge wall. And, you know, I liked it. I definitely liked it. It was enjoyable. It was entertaining, but it definitely was the most unoriginal film, you know, we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's about sums it up, because, yeah, I mean, like I said, it takes inspiration. You can see it on his sleeve of a lot of different things. Like you mentioned Blade Runner, you mentioned Star Wars, a lot of that. The stuff with the AI, a lot of there is very reminiscent of something like that. Yeah, you know, and the stuff with the whole story of, like, you know, we've seen, like, that's always been a thing. You take the grizzled, gruff guy and you pair him up with a little child, and that's going to bring out the softer side in him, you know. I think the whole stuff with, you know, of course, usually that character has to have a lost partner, some kind of wife or something. So that's Jim Chan's character in here. Like, that's one of his primary motivations also to come back into the game, is that, you know, he, you know, lost his wife, so he wants to get her back. And then, I mean, I know Ayers said he really liked Jim Chan in this, even though she's only in the movie for a little bit. I don't know, she's not in the movie really enough for me to really have, I don't think she has that much of an impact besides just being a, you know, an ideal, you know, for the character to get back to, you know. So I didn't think that was particularly strong. I think the best thing about this stuff is the visuals, is the effects, the visuals, the kind of look of the world, all this different stuff in the world going on. Could somebody else come in here and, like, play with it and do little different things here, or make a series out of it, or maybe, I don't know, an anime out of it, or, you know, animated show out of it or something? Maybe, you know, you could, and do something else creative with there. There's some fun stuff you could do with that, maybe. But just as the movie goes, and this is over 2 hours, and as Ayers mentioned, there's almost like a final act, and then there's another on the final act plus. Like the final act has like a DLC where they go to another. I was like, all right, we have to do this other thing that we said we were going to do, so let's do this. That just kind of feels like, okay, kind of drags a little bit there, I think. When it comes to the villains are very Avatar-esque. You know, they're like the you know, asshole military people, you know, that want to fight back. And then, you know, you have, there's they say, because it's New Asia that have taken in the AI and have, like, worked with them. So you see a lot of that, which I want to know if it's, again, like Star Wars, where it's like a parallel to, like, the Vietnam War kind of going on, maybe even parallel to what's going on between US and China. Maybe there's something like that going on here with the storytelling. But yeah, I think that's kind of the strongest elements here, is just like a lot of effects. I think it's a movie that maybe people should go see, just because, like, hey, this is an $80 million movie. It needs about probably 200 million to be successful. And is it going to make that? I think it's going to be tough right now. I don't know if people are in the mood for this right now. But I'm going to go around, give you guys opinions, and you guys can give your final rating. Ayers.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very derivative movie, but at the same time, I do think it's something that people should at least check out, because there is a possibility that you could like it. Like, I've seen a lot of people online who are fans of the movie. They're like, hey, this really did work for me. And I think if enough people see it, it could have the impact that I think we're all hoping it does have. Like, hey, you don't need to spend $300 million on a fucking movie in order to make it look epic. Like, look at what they did with this movie. Like aspire to something like this. Sometimes less is more, and this is one of those examples of less is more really working out. But yeah, there's so many for me just flaws in terms of storytelling and unoriginality and how it executes certain things that just kind of drag it down a lot for me. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 5.
Would that be on our scale? Would that kind of be like a stream it? You give it like a stream it?
Yeah, I'd even say like I don't know, I would say maybe begrudgingly check it out at like a lower price theater, because I do think like it's worthy of support. Like its ambition and what it was able to do with its budget, I think do deserve to be rewarded on that front.
Okay, so like a low tune in.
Yeah, low tune in. That's it.
Okay. Chris, Black Stubs?
Yeah, just real quick, I did want to give a shout out to the young actor who played Alfie, Madeline Yuna Boyles, Southeast Asian actor. This was, I believe, the first time they did anything like acting wise, and they were incredible in the film. So I just wanted to shout out the young actor for their talent. Yeah, the story is not fresh, it's not new, we've seen it before, but everything surrounding it on a technical level is a spectacle, a true marvel. A lot of friends in the circle are giving it 3.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. I'm teetering still. I don't know if it's I'm either going full 4 stars or 3.5. I really liked it, but I can't deny the flaws. I enjoyed it. I'm a fan of John David Washington from Tenet and Black Klansman. But yeah, I would give it I'd give it a tune in for sure. Go to the theater, support it. It's an original film, and it's made with the $80 million budget. It's Gareth Edwards, and he next to Denis Villeneuve and Nolan, he knows how to make a good-looking movie, like a stunning, technical, achievement kind of thing. Like he's really good at that. So I would say support it for sure.
Yeah. I would kind of give it a kind of stream it. I think around that territory. If I had to grade it on Letterboxd, I guess right now it'd be kind of like 2.5 stars, maybe. Kind of give it somewhere around there. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep hyping it up. Maybe you do want to see it in theater because of maybe if you want to see like a Dolby type situation where you really get the visuals popping and that comes through. And the action scenes, some of them are pretty good. I think that, Gareth Edwards does a lot of really great stuff with the guerrilla fighting. I mean, he did really well with that also, like in Rogue One, where you see the soldiers fighting against, the military and everything. I think that looks also really good, and very impressive. So there's that. As a protagonist, as John Day Washington, as the leader here, as the lead of the movie, I mean, I think it's just kind of like common story that he has, common kind of things, motivation that he has. It's really not that engaging, I don't think, as a character there. And then, like I said, the whole relationship with the child is like at first he's rude and treats the child like crap, but then eventually he loves the child and that's gonna come and they're gonna make a bond, and that's like that doesn't really feel all that interesting really. I think it's like, okay, we've seen this a lot of stuff, especially I guess kind of recently now with like Last of Us and
Mandalorian.
Yeah, various different things now. It's
a lot of Lone Wolf and Cub stories.
Yeah, a lot of that. So we see that, but yeah. So for me, just to kind of stream it here, and a little tune in from Chris Ayers and a tune in from Chris from the Black Stubs podcast. Yeah. All right, we're gonna be reviewing one more thing, and then Chris is gonna come through with his review of the Royal Hotel, and then we'll be getting out of here, and then we're gonna be rating somebody. I don't know if Chris Ayers or Chris from the Black Stubs podcast. Anybody, any suggestions I could do? But yeah, after this, we'll rate somebody. Awesome. All right. Let me pull up my notes for Gen V. All right, here. Make sure that this is gone. Oh, and by the way, so far, the creator box office wise, it says here it's made $61.8 million. And I'm seeing some articles already that are saying that it's already a bomb. It's already a box office bomb. I see already here. But yeah, that's what it's made so far. I don't know. Maybe it could have legs. Maybe it could I don't know, keep going. Maybe it'd be good, you know, like people go like, okay, well, maybe instead of watching something horror movie, maybe sit at home and maybe go to the theaters and watch something sci-fi. Maybe do that instead.